You want to protect yourself on all levels so that you can keep doing what you're doing, and that is why protection magic is so important on not just a seasonal level. This is not something you want to do just because it's the dark season. This is something you want to do every single day. Create, conjure, and survive. We want to perform our magic and we want to live. Hey witches, welcome to Busy, Gritty, Inked and Witchy, a magical living podcast for the busy witch. I'm Morgan, eclectic witch of almost 25 years, Avalon priestess, and busy witch. Here we'll talk all things witchy, from current metaphysical happenings to my busy witch tips and tricks, and everything in the in-between. This podcast is my personal journey, filled with my knowledge, opinions, and unique way of looking at the world. Join me as I weave the magical and the mundane in every episode. Hey witches, welcome back to Busy, Gritty, Inked and Witchy. I'm Morgan, and today I am talking about Protect Yourself Witch, okay? So this episode is not only inspired by recent events in the world, but it's also inspired by the fact that we are now officially in spooky season. We're in the dark part of the year. The days are going to start to get shorter. The nights are going to start to get longer until we get to Yule. And in the dark part of the year is a great time for protection magic. Now, you should be doing protection magic every single day. I'm going to get to that. But as we're going, like I said, into the dark season, a lot of times witches will amp up their protection magic, or they will refresh their protective wards around their house. Any of that kind of stuff is done a lot during the dark season. Okay, so I thought that this episode is pretty timely right now because of recent events, which I'll talk about. I'm going to talk about it. And then the dark season. Okay. So in today's podcast episode, I'm going to be talking about protection magic, why you should do it, easy ways to do it, and then types of witchy protection for emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual selves, which a lot of them overlap, but it's still really good stuff to learn about. Yeah. Okay. So Lord, I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about recent events. I'm going to talk about what happened, and I'm going to share a little bit of my opinion, but don't worry, I'm not going to get too political here. Okay, so this episode has been highly inspired by the fact that whether or not you know it, there is a literal witch hunt going on in the world, in the United States. There's a literal witch hunt going on because back at the end of September, and I don't know if I am sharing this information new to you, so just buckle up if I am. At the end of September, conservative speaker Charlie Kirk was shot, assassinated at one of his own events. And he made his money, made his fame by debating people. He was shot in broad daylight, out in public. Well, it just so happened that 2 days before he was shot, the online magazine known as Jezebel, which is a feminist, left-leaning online magazine, published an article 2 days before his death that was titled something along the lines of, "I paid an Etsy witch to curse Charlie Kirk, and here's what happened." And then, like I said, this was posted 2 days before he was shot in real life. So the article stayed up for about a day, and then it was taken down they rewrote it but it was at the advice of their lawyers. Now, what has happened? This is, at the time of recording, this happened almost a month ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. No, so it wasn't at the end of September. I apologize. It was at the beginning of September. So what's happened now is, even though that article was taken down, versions of it, remained online. And now there is some people that have band together, some conservatives, some Charlie Kirk supporters who have band together, but they're trying to figure out who these Etsy witches were so that they can investigate them. Okay. So lots of stuff here. Lots of stuff, okay? And I'm going to share some of my opinions on some of it, okay? The first thing that I have to say is I read the article before it was taken down, okay? And the article actually just proved a lot of what I said in episode 171 of my podcast, which was stop paying for spells. So if you want to know my opinion on people that pay for spells, I did an entire episode on it. It was, again, episode 171. But this article supported a lot of what I said in there because the editor reporter, I guess, he or she, they had hired two different Etsy, they had gone to Etsy and typed in like spells for hire or something like that. And they couldn't believe that there was actually this existed. And then there was, I think the first person they contacted was like, I'm not going to do that. So whoever that was, I applaud you. The second, I think there was 2 other people that agreed to do it. They quote unquote cast the spells. And then they did what I talk about in episode 171. And this is how I knew they were scam artists and not real witches. Because what happens with a lot of scam artists, and these are the people that will like contact you on Facebook or contact you on Instagram, and they will say, Grand Rising, I can do this spell for you. So what happens is they cast the spell and then they come back and they say, oh, I saw very dark energy, or this spell had resistance, I need another $100. Or you can upgrade. Let's upgrade to this, upgrade to that. And that's exactly what this reporter mentioned in this article was they went to these 2 Etsy witches and they were like, oh yes, I will take your money. I will cast this curse on this Charlie Kirk person. And then, but there was so much resistance. I need more money. Do you want to be protected against, I need some more money. That's what the article said. So it just supported why you shouldn't go and pay somebody to do a spell for you. But anyway, so besides that, what it has done is exactly what happened in real life. You know, this, you don't know if you're going to go pay someone for a spell. If you are a witch who casts spell for other people, you don't know who the hell is asking you to do this. And maybe they were writing an article, and maybe now it's the internet. You know, it's the internet. People find out stuff all the time. They find out names, they find out addresses, you get doxxed. It's not safe out there. Okay. So if you're going around telling people that you did it or that you did the spell, or someone pays you to curse a high professional person or a high profile person, do what you want, but man, just don't, because what could happen is the spells were cast in August because the writer of the article mentioned a new moon in a sign, and I immediately recognized it as being the new moon in August. So the spells were quote unquote cast weeks before Charlie Kirk was actually killed. But the timing of it was shit. I mean, the timing of it was so bad. This article came out and 2 days later he was shot. And then what you have done is you have literally opened yourself up to a nationwide investigation of who was this person. And magic aside, did they have something to do with this? You know, to do with the death of another human being? And like, was there a conspiracy theory going on? Like, you've just opened up an entire can of worms that is absolutely crazy. And so your world can get flipped upside down. You could get doxxed. You could, and we all know that it's the religious extremists of any religion that are the ones that give the religion a bad name. So the people that are on a literal witch hunt right now, you know, I'm telling you, this is a call to all witches to protect yourself at the moment, not just Etsy witches, you know, all witches need to protect themselves right now, because it just takes a few radicals. It just takes a few extremists in any religion or any mindset to fuck shit up for the majority, you know? So there's my 2 cents. That's as far as my opinions are going to go on the subject. But it has spawned, a call to arms for witches to protect yourself, especially right here at the spooky season, right here when we are all, a lot of us are out and proud, you know, protect yourself, okay? So this is a time for all witches to protect themselves, because your energy is sacred, your sanity is precious, and the world is loud as hell right now. I wrote that down and I wanted to make sure I read it, because the world is so loud. Even if you knew nothing about the actual situation that inspired today's episode, if I just blew your world wide open with that information of what is actually happening in the world, and Etsy witches and, you know, literal witch hunts, you know, I apologize. That means you've been shielding yourself from, you know, social media and the shit going on in the world, and I applaud you for that. But it is time. It is time. This is a great time for me to talk about protection, and to talk about protection on multiple levels. Okay. You want to protect yourself on all levels so that you can keep doing what you're doing, and that is why protection magic is so, so important on not just a seasonal level. This is not something you want to do just because it's the dark season. This is something you want to do every single day, or when your witchy spidey senses start to tingle. Do a cleansing, do a protection, up your warts, okay? But you want to continue to do whatever it is that you're doing. Create, conjure, and survive, okay? We want to create things, we want to perform our magic, and we want to live. Yeah, So you also want to protect yourself on all levels so that you aren't affected by other people's bullshit, other people's negative energy, other people's opinions, other people's fucking crazy ass views of what's going on in the world, and other people's magic. So other magic practitioners, you want to protect yourself from their bullshit, okay? Am I, like, little side tangent, am I pissed off at these Etsy witches for fucking cursing Charlie Kirk? I am. I don't give a shit who or what they decided to curse. I'm pissed off that, like, the whole thing happened, you guys. The whole thing. Somebody, and a reporter went to Etsy, paid Etsy witches. Then the Etsy witches were fucking scam artists because they were like, I see negative energy around you. You need to pay me another $100 or whatever the fucking shit was. And then 2 days after the article came out, the actual person of the article died. And now we have a fucking witch hunt for all witches. Like, what the fuck? I fucking hate you people. You Etsy witches that did this to us, I fucking hate you, okay? Because you opened up a can of worms that didn't need to be opened, all right? And now I just opened up a can of worms on myself. Well, fuck it, I don't care. It's my fucking podcast. Anyway, you also want to know another reason why protection. That was a big tangent, you guys. That was a bit. I had to get it out, though. I tell you guys all the time, you've got to feel your feelings, okay? And I'm sitting here trying to have a professional podcast, and I'm fucking pissed as shit that I'm having to do a protection magic episode because some stupid fucking witches fucked it up for the rest of us. And I'm even going to say witches in quotation marks because I don't know who the fuck they are and I don't care. But yes, have I done protection magic before on the podcast? I probably have. But am I pissed that I have to do it because there's a literal witch hunt now in the United States? Yes, I'm pissed. So, okay, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry if I upset you all. Got you worked up like me. Let's just take a second. Let's take a second, because I got to recenter, and I got to breathe, and I got to reground, and I got to reprotect myself, okay? Because look, I protect myself before recording every single episode that I do, because I'm the face of my business, and I am a public figure, and like as far as in the witchy community, but my wires get crossed all the time. My shit ends up on, I have people tell me all the time on TikTok, they're going to pray for my soul. So, like, this shit crosses over into the crazy conservative shit. And, woo! Yeah. Okay. Let's ground. Let's center. Let's go ahead. Let's take a deep breath. If you're worked up like I am, let's take a deep breath, ground and center before we move on. Okay. Hopefully you all are watching this on YouTube, because it's great. All right, let's take a deep breath in and blow out the bullshit. If you've got to make a noise, make a noise. Like an exasperated, I can't believe I'm doing this shit. Okay, laugh. That is an emotion that gets it out, that transmutes the negative energy into positive energy. Laughter is gorgeous. Laughter is gorgeous for transmuting negative shit into positive shit and for energy shifts. Okay. And I've been learning a lot. I've been diving a lot into using sound for your body to move energy through your body. So if you just exhale, that's fine. If you need to scream, that's fine. If you need to just sigh out loud and make a noise. Okay. All right. I got my shoes off too. I'm all grounded. Let's go on. All right. So why do you want to perform protection magic? I'm going to go into teacher mode now. You also want to protect yourself on all levels so that you aren't affected by others' bullshit, their energy, influence, opinions, and magic. You want to know that your intentions, energy, and magic are your own, so blocking out the chaos helps keep your magic pure to you. Okay, we went back into teacher mode. Now I can go back into hybrid teacher and Morgan mode. All right. So I'm going to break down protection methods in today's episode. I'm going to break them down into like areas of protection for you today. And yes, many of them overlap. All right. Switch in the notebook. All right, so the first zone I'm going to go in is your mental space, protecting your mental space. I'm going to go over mundane and magical protection methods for each zone as well, and how to figure out if you need protection here. But look, I'm going to tell you right now, you need protection in all areas, okay? So, protecting your mental space. What's draining your thoughts right now, and what lives rent-free in your head? And I'm not talking about the song Chumbawamba from the 90s. I get knocked down. Y'all are welcome. Now it's going to be stuck in your head because that just lives rent-free in the back of my head because I'm a 90s child, you know? Anyway, what's draining your thoughts? What lives rent-free? Okay, so this is where, if you're wondering how your mental space is affected, this is where doom scrolling, negative self-talk, obsessive thoughts, and what I call secondhand chaos from the outside world runs rampant. Okay, this is how you can tell if your mental space needs to be cleansed and protected. All right, the mundane, the easiest protection method for this is a mundane one. It's not magical. And I know I've said it 8 million times on the podcast before. Boundaries with tech, social media, news, and other people's bullshit. That is the easiest way to protect your mental space, is to stop doom scrolling, stop worrying about what's happening on the other side of the world as far as things you can't control. Either do something about it or stop punishing yourself for it, which we're going to get to emotional here in a second, which is spiritual guilt, you know. But anyway, uninstall apps, unfriend or mute that person who always, whenever they open their mouth, just doom and gloom comes out. Yeah. And don't interact either. That's another thing. Don't like what they say, or don't offer an opinion of like, hey, maybe you should look on the bright. Just don't do it. Don't interact when that person is, if you have that person in your life that is always, whenever they pipe up, it's always doom and gloom and their life's never going right. And this is this and this and this, and they're so draining. Don't interact at all. Just mute them, unfriend them. Don't like what they say. Don't offer any advice. Don't do anything, because that just reinforces the bad behavior. Curate your feed for cat videos. I mean, that's just personal experience. I do a lot of cat cooking. I do some witchy stuff too if it's fun stuff. A lot of comedians are in my feed because, yeah, I like that. Anyway, curate your feed for cat videos and accounts that raise you up, not bring you down. Okay, I can tell you. So I performed 2 experiments recently. Oh, I'm always experimenting with Instagram because they're always changing the algorithm, right? So Instagram is just a crapshoot. Like it probably takes about 2 to 3 days of really like going down the cat video wormhole before the cat videos just start showing up regularly for you. Facebook, I performed a very interesting experiment. I actually unliked every single page that I had ever liked. And that's confused the fuck out of Facebook. They don't know what to send me anymore, because they're like, you don't like anything? You like no pages. We don't know what to do. So they have been sending me a lot of shit. And here's a fun fact. If they send you shit, like it is something like, under no circumstances would I ever follow or like this page, then you go up to the little 3 dots, right? And you click it, and you click like see less, or you can do this on Instagram too. This is a fun game I like to play. You click the 3 dots and then you click like not interested. And then they'll ask you, Facebook or Instagram will ask you, like, or you click the report button. And then they're like, why? And just pick the most fucked up, weirdest shit. I have reported extremely, like, I don't talk politics here, but like we are talking extreme right or extreme left. Just so you all know, I don't live on the extreme of anything. Okay. But like, so when Facebook didn't know what to do with me, they started showing me extreme right shit, which is how I knew, about this Etsy witch hunt, right? Extreme right stuff. I labeled it all, I reported it all for pornography, just to fuck with the algorithm, you guys, just to fuck with it. So just click not interested, and when they tell you why or something, they like, this post makes me uncomfortable. It talks about pornography, or there's nudity in this picture, and there's no nudity in it, but it just fucks with the algorithm. It's a fun time. That's how I take my power back, and that's how I make it amusing, because I mean, that's what magic is the more fun you can add to something, the more magical it becomes. So anyway, yeah, it only takes a couple of days to curate your feed properly, but you have to unfriend or mute people or whatever. Okay. Now, the magical ways to protect your mental space, cord cuttings. But look, I'm going to tell you right now, cord cuttings are good for all spaces, protecting yourself in all spaces. I highly recommend a cord cutting, which I talked about in episode 140. It's an entire episode on cord cuttings, so you can go back and listen to it if you so choose. Okay. Because I recommend cord cuttings for mental shit, emotional shit, physical, spiritual, all of it. You can do a headspace clearing ritual with the element of air. I really like to go out when it's windy outside and scream into the wind sometimes to get that mental chaos done. But if there's a breeze outside, I will focus on my inner breath and just allow the thoughts to pass with the breeze. So or if you're meditating, just focus on your breath and allow the thoughts to like turn into smoke. Like if you're the caterpillar in his hookah on Alice in Wonderland. That's a tip I taught in Ink Spirit Coven, is to, words pop into your head or thoughts pop into your head, turn them into smoke and let them float by. Okay. Give your brain a break. And this is mundane and magical. I love to watch trash TV. I talk about it on social media all the time. Understand that anything you're taking in, though, can cause mental clutter and can cause mental overload. So make sure that it's something comforting to you. If you're watching trash TV that gets you upset, gets you excited, like in a bad way, that's just going to add to it more. Okay. So pick your favorite movie that provides comfort, your favorite TV show, a podcast that really makes you, like, you're not absorbing too much knowledge, it just entertains you, or like an audio book, or dive into a book of, your favorite book, anything, but set the intention first. And this is how you make it magical. Set the intention of, as I watch this show, I reset my mental state. I cleanse away what no longer serves. I quiet my mind, whatever, or as I watch this movie, as I read this book, as I listen to this audio book, as I listen to this music, put on your favorite album. Anything like that, but set the intention first and you've turned it into a magical event. Number 2, your emotional field. This shows up as empath overload, compassion fatigue, which actually, so earlier when I said spiritual guilt, it's compassion fatigue. So if you're filling your news feed with videos and news of stuff that's happening on the other side of the world that you are not doing anything about, okay, like you're not fundraising for it, you're not planning a trip over there to help out, you're just sitting there, that's compassion fatigue, okay, and it's a real thing. And you just feel horrible. You feel so bad for the people over there. You feel so bad for what's happening in the world. You feel so bad. You feel so bad. You feel so bad. You feel so bad. But if you're not going to do anything about it, if you're not going to advocate for it, if you're not going to volunteer in favor of it, if you're not going to do anything, then you're just causing yourself suffering. Okay. And there's a lot of pain in the world. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is a choice. Okay. And I know I think I've done an entire podcast episode on that because I've lost customers over that statement, which that's not even mine. That is a Buddhist philosophy. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is a choice. Okay. You can choose whether or not you're going to follow or if you're going to do something. So just following something to keep tabs on it, but then never doing anything about it. Why do you do that? This is just a question. Anyway, but look, this is also coming from a person in complete transparency. I don't know what the hell's happening in the world at all. Okay. I choose to do this. Okay. So my husband will come to me all the time. He's my filter and he'll let me know what's happening in the world. He'll translate it so that I know what I can get my panties in a bunch about, or what I need to just let go, what I need to do a spell about, what I need to move forward with, what I need to do a fucking podcast episode about. So my husband is my filter, or I end up on the Rapture Talk side of TikTok, and then I kind of get my news from there too. Something. Yeah. Anyway, but yes, your emotional field shows up as empath overload, compassion fatigue, spiritual guilt for not doing this, that, or not doing enough. Okay. This is like a numb feeling, or you have every emotion all the time, all the emotions, all of them. And that's how you know that your mental state needs to be cleansed or your emotional state needs to be cleansed and protected. Okay. So mundane, you need to rest. You need to have healthy emotional release, just like we did earlier. Release it feel it, but then figure out, what am I going to do with this? Am I going to release it and move on? Or am I going to fucking use this rage, use this anger, use this frustration as a platform for something better or for change or to make change in my life or in the life of others? You have to feel the emotion first before you can figure out what you're going to do with it. And look, be honest with yourself. If you are not going to do anything about it, it's time to release it. Okay. And that's where a lot of, especially empaths, especially witchy people, especially people who are looking more at humanity as a whole versus the self. We live in compassion fatigue because we see the horrible shit happening here or there or whatever. And we want to keep tabs on it because we think this makes us a good person. But if you're not going to do anything about it, then you need to release it. You're just causing yourself suffering. Okay. And I mean that from the greatest bottom part of my heart. Okay, for your own mental and emotional well-being. If you are not going to do anything about it, release it and stop following it. Okay. Anyway, healthy emotional release, somatic exercises, SOMATIC for those listening. Google it on YouTube. Highly recommend. I've even mentioned it in the past, that workout witch on Instagram. I think it's that workout witch. Anyway, she has a great somatic release part because your emotions are held in your hips. So a lot of people, we keep our hips all contracted and stuff. So the more you can free your hips through dance, and that means just dancing around your house, like Britney Spears it up, you guys. Do it. Or somatic exercises. The more you can open up your hips, the more you can have access to those repressed emotions and you can let them go. And the more you have access to future emotions before they become oppressed, okay, or repressed. Therapy, talking with a trusted person, journaling, these are all mundane things you can do to cleanse and get out and spiritually or protect your emotional state, okay? Magical, black tourmaline is my go-to as an empath because black tourmaline gemstone not only cleanses negative energy, but it also protects you from that shit reabsorbing. So if you wear a piece of black tourmaline, that's really great. You can visualize a shield of armor around you in a color, a bubble, like an actual shield on you to deflect off negative energy that is directed at you or just in general. You can anoint yourself each day with like a calming or cleansing oil to help you stay emotionally calm, or spray. So, and then again, cord cuttings. I'm just going to probably say it for all of them. So that is protecting your emotional state, making sure that you are staying even emotionally. Feel the emotion, figure out what you're going to do with it if you're going to use it as fuel. Otherwise, release it. And then you can protect yourself emotionally by doing that. Figure out if you're going to use it or not, then let it go. Okay. Number 3, protecting your physical body. So where are you pushing yourself too hard physically or not resting enough? That's where this one can really pop up or let you know it's time to re-protect my physical self. Okay. Are your space or physical boundaries also being violated by a weird coworker who just gets a little too close to you when they talk to you? Your significant other, did you tell them no? Like, no, not tonight, honey, and they're pushing. Like, where are your physical boundaries being violated? Mundane, have a talk with people around you about your personal physical boundaries. Have a talk with that creepy coworker and say, hey, dude, look, can you just take a step back? Just take a step back. Or if y'all all gather around the water cooler, to share your stuff and you just have that one Debbie Downer person come in that gets real close, be like, look, dude, I'm not going to do this anymore. Like, hey, can you just, not be in my personal space? Thank you. And let people know, like, hey, don't get so close to me. I have a sensory thing, and most of the time, especially in today's society, people respect that shit. But, have a talk with your children. If they're like 1, 2, 3, they're not going to understand it. But if they're like 12, 13, and they keep barging into your room when you have the door shut and you're just trying to get a few minutes to yourself, tell them it's not appropriate for you. Like, when my door is closed, please wait until I come out. That is my boundary. And that is what I need from you. Okay, so clearly communicate your personal boundaries. Carry pepper spray. Yeah, that's a physical, that is a physical boundary setter real quick. Take a self-defense class. If you really truly are worried about your physical protection, take a self-defense class. Learn to use your keys put them like through your fingers like Wolverine if you're walking to your car in a, darkish parking garage. And you want, for those aren't watching, you're not getting the full benefits of what's happening here. But like I'm trying to, demonstrate, like you take your key ring and you hold it in the palm of your hand and you stick your keys out in between all your fingers like Wolverine. And that's how you walk. I remember telling my husband about that one time, that I was taught that as a teenager, as a woman. I was taught that. And I do it still to this day if I'm out by myself and I have to walk to my car. And, we all have or a lot of us have cars now. You don't even need the key to like get in it. You just get close to the car and the door handle pops open or whatever. And you don't need a key to start it anymore. It just has to be in the car. But I still take my keys out, pop a key in between each one of my fingers and just hold it and walk like normal. And I remember telling my husband about this one day, and he's like, wow, that's crazy. Like, he's a 6'3" man. He's never had to worry about being jumped in a parking lot. But we women were taught this from a very young age, how to physically protect yourself. So I think it's fun to see the like gender differences when it comes to stuff like that. Just as another side note, when my husband and I were separated and I had a roommate, if I was going on a date or something, I let her know, like, here's a picture of the guy. This is where we're supposed to meet. This is his name. This is everything. Because, like, if I get kidnapped, I need somebody to know who kidnapped me and where I last was, My husband, he's like, I never told a bro where I was going when I went out on dates with women. And I'm like, again, that's the difference between being a man and a woman in today's society, Anyway, magical ways to protect your physical body. Again, you want to ward your body using protection oil. You can draw sigils into your makeup, your lotion, like protective sigils. You can wear protective jewelry. Again, black tourmaline is great. If there's a sigil or symbol, like the pentacle is great for this. The pentacle represents protection, but also the union of earth, air, fire, water, spirit, the 5 elements. Wear black. Black is a protective color, energetically speaking. Become in tune with your surroundings so that you can sense shifts in energy around you and move accordingly. Okay, so this is where it takes time, it takes practice, but you almost go into a meditative state and you expand your awareness outwards. You practice it in a meditative state. You can then do it in real life, okay? But you practice expanding your body outward, your energetic level outward, so that you can sense shifts. Again, this is great for if you have to walk through a dark parking garage and you want to, being able in tune with your surroundings means that you can hear a step coming from over this way, or you can hear a rock that was kicked over this way. So don't be on your phone when you're walking to your car at night. Don't be distracted. Okay, put your phone away, get to where you need to get safely. Okay. Number 4, your spiritual energy. This is going to be protection against psychic attacks, unfriendly spirits, and what I've called the funk. Just that feeling spiritually misaligned. Okay. You can understand this, or you need to understand that this is possible. Like needing spiritual protection can be understood by, I don't know what I'm trying to say, because what I wrote I don't write in complete sentences, you guys. So what I wrote doesn't translate into speaking it out loud correctly. Okay, with spiritual protection, you must first understand the possible repercussions of the spells you cast. If anything is being cast at or on you, this is all where spiritual protection comes into play, okay? And not being an open vessel for negative attachments, spirits, if you believe in like demons, negative entities, things like that, that is where spiritual protection comes into play, okay? Mundane, based on the whole inspiration for this episode. Use common sense when casting spells or talking about it on the internet. If you are going to accept money from other people to cast spells for them, that is your own prerogative. Okay, you can do that as a witch. Be discerning when people come to you with curses and spells and hexes and shit. Be discerning. Because you never know if 2 days after an article pops up, the person's going to really be dead. And it was a public figure. So the news is going to go national, and you don't know if you're hiring a reporter. So use common sense when casting spells or talking about them on social media or the internet. Okay. Also, I say have some kind of personally defined magical ethics or morals. That would be personally defined. Personally, what you are going to do or not do as a witch. Okay. And I really, honestly, I don't want to use the word beg. Is implore the correct word? I don't know if that's the right word. Urge. We're going to go with urge. I urge you, if you are an Etsy witch, period, and you cast spells for other people, I urge you now to redefine your personal ethics and morals when it comes to what you will and won't do for other people. Yeah, for everyone, for the good of everyone. Okay? Okay. All right. Magical ways to protect your spiritual energy. You can, again, ward yourself, your home, your sacred space, etc., with crystal grids, with gemstones, with oils. You can draw sigils, protective sigils on yourself, your doorways, your windows, all of that. Create protective sigils so people can't find you or cast against you, etc. Kind of talked about this in What's in a Magical Name, where I talk about if you have a magical name and you don't share it with anyone, then it makes it super hard for people to energetically cast against you. Because, yeah, they can cast against your government name, but if you perform all of your magic and have your wards for your government self and your magical self under a magical name and no one knows it, it becomes your Rumpelstiltskin name and it becomes like a shield of protection. No one can cast against you because they do not know your magical name, your Rumpelstiltskin name. Okay. Oh, hold on. Last page. Crystal grids. Great for this. Daily spiritual hygiene. This is cleansing and protecting every single day. This is something you should be doing as a witch anyway. And I know I try not to use the word should, and I've said it a lot here because spiritual protection is important. It was important before all this bullshit happened, and it will be important after all of this has died down. Okay. So yes, I will say should. You should, as a magical person, protect your energy every single day. All right. Overall magical protection helpers, just some gems. I use black gemstones. So black tourmaline, onyx, obsidian. I have jet. These are really good because black absorbs negative energy and then also repels it. Smoky quartz, really good for grounding and protection on all levels: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. Hematite is another one that's good for grounding, but then protection on all levels. And then raw obsidian shards are sharp because essentially they're nature-made glass. You can use this to cut cords. You can use this in spell bags or jars to cut away at negative energy. You can also use it in spell bags or jars to create like a protective force field so that any energy cast towards you, anything done towards you, will get chopped up and cut by the raw obsidian. Nails do the same thing. Nails, tacks, things like that. So if you add them to a protective spell jar or spell bag, they will cut away the negative energy that's sent towards you or that is just around you. Herbs for protection: rosemary, sage, and cedar are great for spirituality and for cleansing and protection. Roots are my go-to for protection, okay? Because plant roots grounded into the earth, and therefore they're harder as well. So they put up more of a protective barrier when you use them in spell jars and spell bags, okay? So roots: angelica, devil's claw, mandrake, dandelion root, really good for cleansing. But I personally, burdock root, these are my go-to for protection, are roots. Okay. And then mugwort. Mugwort is this all-purpose witchy herb, but it's really good for, especially against psychic attacks. It's really good for spiritual protection for witches. And yeah, mugwort's a really good one as well. Salt can be used. It can be sprinkled around your home, your sacred space, or you can just have bowls of salt. They're good for cleansing and protection. Black salt is good for witchy protection. So you can either make your own by burning protective herbs and then grinding up the ashes and adding it to salt. That's how you make witch's salt. Or you can just buy black salt, which is usually like charcoal activated or has like charcoal added to it. Other things I've mentioned: spell jars, spell bags, great for protection, my go-to. Cord cuttings, absolutely cannot recommend them enough. Iron nails or iron tacks, things like that. I mentioned those before, but they can be added to jars, protection jars, or spell bags. Always remember too, I think I don't know if I've done an actual podcast episode on spell jars and spell bags. I know that there's a lesson in the Ink Spirit Coven for Ink Spirit Coven members. But always remember, when you're doing a spell jar or spell bag for yourself, like to protect your energy, you have to add a piece of you to it. This is very easily done with a piece of hair, or like when you go to clip your nails, you can save your fingernail or toenail clippings and add that. Back in the day, witches used to pee in the jar. So if you want to do that to like bury the jar around your house for like super protection, you can do that. But the very easy thing is a piece of hair or like a fingernail. Okay. And then pinnacles, like I said earlier, unless you have a symbol or sigil that really resonates with you for protection, like a triple moon or maybe an ankh or, something like that, a pinnacle is just a good all around like go-to for that. All right, you guys. So that is what I have for you all this week. We ran long again. It's because of my tangents. But this was a good one. I think this was a good episode, right? Anyway, I got out a lot of pent up frustration that I have with the things going on in the world right now. Anyway, that is this episode. Now, my Patreon bonus content, I'm going to actually share some of my personal protection methods that I use daily on the Patreon bonus content. That's at patreon.com/inkedgoddesscreations. It is for my paid tiers. So the smallest tier is $5 a month. That gets you access to the paid content. The middle tier is $9. It gets you access to the paid content and a weekly energetic reading. And then the top one is $13 a month. It gets you access to the paid content and the energetic reading. And you guys, I have lots of Book of Shadow pages in progress. I'm going to be getting them to you in PDF files here. I promise. I have a lot in work right now. You also, with the $5 tier, you get a shout out. And I have 4 new members this week. Thank you so much to Frau. Thank you, Dana. Thank you, Krista. And thank you, Angela, for being paid Patreon members. Again, that's patreon.com/inkedgoddesscreations. If you like the way I teach, you like my vibe, you can definitely join my online coven. It is called Inked Spirit, and that's at inkedspirit.com. So you can head there, join. We're doing mirror magic for the month of October, and then we're moving into liminal spaces and like different realms for the month of November. So it's going to be really fun. But I want to thank you all for being here, for listening. Please like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff, because it helps the algorithm spit the podcast out to other magically curious people just like you. I do sound bites on Instagram and TikTok, so you can comment there. Let me know what you thought of this episode, what your favorite protection methods are, things like that. Also on YouTube, you can watch this episode, and a lot of them. I've been doing them on YouTube for a while now. So you can head to YouTube. It's at Ink Goddess Creations over there as well. And drop a comment. Let me know what you thought of this episode. So thank you for being here, for listening to my crazy ass. And I will see you all next week. Bye.